gonna make rhubarb chutney. So this is our first jam of the year, and we're maybe a little more excited than we should be,
but that's because you're all here.
And it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Okay, so the spoon test is a really wonderful test to use to see whether or not your jam has gelled sufficiently. But the spoon test is really only used for jams that don't use pectin as a base. I personally don't use pectin for several reasons. It's loaded with preservatives. It's of a dubious origin. It's a highly processed food item. And there's a gel that pectin imparts, a gelling, which is the whole point of it. But there's a gel, an unnatural jelliness that, to me, if I take a jam, if I can cut through it or I can invert the jar and have it come out into a wobbly mold, I don't like that. Like, it's too thick, it's too gelled, it's just not, it's not unctuous. It's not something that's oozing out of your peanut butter sandwich. It's this thick, rigid stuff. So I don't use pectin.
The spoon test is they've been sitting in the freezer, so it's going to bring the temperature of your hot boiling jam down to a room temperature in a
Simulated environment.
Yes. So let's try it.
Okay.
This is a little bit thicker than maybe some jams would be, but you like to put 2 or 3 little drops on it.
And then return it to the freezer for about 1 minute. You don't want it to be in the freezer so long that it freezes.
Or you're so excited to see if it's done that you pull it out before a minute and it hasn't chilled sufficiently.
1 minute is generally perfect. Once you remove the spoon from the freezer, you're going to take your finger and just push against that little puddle of jam. And what you're looking for are wrinkles. So if it wrinkles or just kind of even just
little undulations,
yeah.
Like you can see that it's kind of got some integrity. Mm-hmm. And so when you as opposed to if you push on it and it just all moves like a water or a puddle, that's not what you want. Mm-hmm. What you want is there to be some like, we are connected, we are all one. This jam is a unified force of fruit and flavor, and it will not let you push it apart so easily. Mm-hmm. How about that?
Mm-hmm. I like it. Because otherwise, if you don't see wrinkles, you don't see some sort of cohesiveness with the liquid, it's just going to be too thin. And too thin's fine, because you can still make delicious like strawberry syrup or blueberry syrup or something to pour over pancakes or cakes or ice creams or whatever. But if you want a really beautifully set jam, you have to work with the natural pectins that are in the fruit. Naturally, nearly all fruit has enough pectin to actually set up without the addition of added pectin. A few exceptions, cherries are one of the exceptions, and apples and quince, especially crab apples, but green apples specifically, or slightly underripe apples, have tons of pectin. And you can actually make pectin jam, pectin stock out of apples, and then use that as pectin. Mm-hmm. Then you know what you're putting in your jam.
Fresh peas, keeping it real here.
So here's my spoon, here's our chutney, and when we push against it, it looks good to me too. There maybe not wrinkles, but there's a tackiness to it. There's a quality of sticky kind of gel. So yummy.
It has been 50 minutes. So that seems right about what we were expecting too.
Mm-hmm. And 50 minutes for me in a copper pot is going to be 75 minutes maybe for somebody using something that's
like a stainless steel pot that doesn't conduct the heat as well.
Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about jam pots, so the idea for jam, at least jam that requires no additional pectin to set, is you want to get that moisture out of that fruit as fast as possible because you want to have the least amount of cooking time and the most amount of evaporation. So the pots that are best for jam are actually saute pans because they have a wide surface bottom without a lot of height. This is a jam specific pot. It's copper, it's solid copper, and it's unlined, and it conducts the heat beautifully. Most people are not going to have a copper jam pot. So because I make so many jams, I somehow justified it, and I love it. But I'll show you pots that will be good for making jam, and I'll show you a couple that would be not so good. So if your choices are between a saucepan and a stock pot, use your stock pot. What you want is you want this massive surface area versus this one, where this is going to be denser, the jam's going to rise on the side higher, and it's going to trap that moisture in there and not let it evaporate off nearly as fast as this pot. So if you have a saute pan, I think this would be ideal for jam making. The sides are shorter, so you're not going to trap as much steam within the pot. It's going to evaporate the moisture faster than this one would. You still have that nice wide base. It's the perfect size for making small batch. So you could easily do what normally like 3 or 4 cups of fruit in something like this. So that might help you conceptualize like what your ultimate goal is to cook the fruit as little as possible, but you also need to gel and set the fruit, and you want to reduce the moisture. Okay, so it's been what, 60 minutes? I was always out of that. And when you do pull these out of the dishwasher, make sure you don't touch around the rim, and wash your hands before you do this.
Said washing happening now. Would you like a heart?
Thank you. My girlfriend's mother-in-law makes them for me. Because you can grab the jars without getting the pot holder up on the actual rim.